Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Let us continue with our tafsir of Surah Al-Baqarah, and we are on ayah number 255. قال الله تعالى: الله لا إله إلا هو الحي القيوم لا تأخذه سنة ولا نوم له ما في السماوات وما في الأرض من ذا الذي يشفع عنده إلا بإذنه يعلم ما بين أيديهم وما خلفهم ولا يحيطون بشيء من علمه إلا بما شاء وسع كرسيه السماوات والأرض ولا يؤوده حفظهما وهو العلي العظيم. This ayah, known as Ayatul Kursi, or the ayah of the footstool, has immense virtue. Firstly, it is known as the greatest ayah in the Quran, where in Sahih Muslim, the Prophet ﷺ asked Ubay bin Ka'b, who was one of the most knowledgeable people of the Quran, he was a hafiz. The Prophet asked him, what is the greatest ayah in the Quran? And Ubay bin Ka'b radiallahu anh replied, Allahu wa rasuluhu a'lam, Allah and His Messenger know better. The Prophet asked him repeatedly this question, as if the Prophet felt that Ubay bin Ka'b should be able to answer. Then eventually Ubay bin Ka'b answered by saying Ayatul Kursi, to which the Prophet replied, لِيَهْنِكَ الْعِلْمُ أَبَا الْمُنذِرِ وَالَّذِي نَفْسِي بِيَدِهِ إِنَّ لَهَا لِسَانًا وَشَفَتَيْنِ تُقَدِّسُ الْمَلِكَ عِنْدَ سَاقِ الْعَرْشِ. Congratulations for having knowledge, O Abu al-Munzir. This is the kunya of Ubay bin Ka'b. In the wording of the Musnad of Ahmad, the Prophet goes on to say, by the one whose hand is in my soul, this ayah has a tongue and two lips with which she praises the king, meaning Allah, next to the leg of the throne. That is to say, the throne or the arsh of Allah Jalla wa Ala. The Prophet also told us that whoever recites Ayatul Kursi after every fard salah, nothing stands between him and Jannah except death. The reason why this ayah is the greatest of all the ayat is analogous to Surah Al-Ikhlas. Surah Al-Ikhlas speaks solely and purely of Allah Jalla wa Ala, and so this ayah also speaks solely about Allah. And seeing as though Allah is the greatest possible being, and this ayah speaks about the greatest possible being, that makes this ayah the greatest ayah. This ayah is composed of 10 sentences. Let's go through them. Sentence number 1, Allahu la ilaha illahu. The words of these are pretty straightforward. The word Allah, from al-ilah, the ilah, ilah is that which is ma'bud, worshipped. There are many things worshipped, of course, and this ayah is saying that there is nothing which is worshipped except He, meaning to say nothing which is worshipped with due right, or there is no true deity except He. Otherwise there are millions of deities and millions of things which are worshipped. Notice it says who, meaning He. Of course, it goes without saying Allah is not a male, but the pronoun is a masculine one. It's not fitting to have a feminine pronoun, as masculinity is superior to femininity. And just a point about the pronunciation, the lam in Allah is a heavy lam, so it is not Allah, rather it is Allah. Also, the first alif is a short one, and the second alif is a longer one, so then it is pronounced Allah, not Allah, and not Allah, and not Allah, but rather Allah. So hopefully you noticed the difference. First alif shorter, second alif longer, and the lam is a heavy lam. Statement number 2, Al-Hayy Al-Qayyum. These are two names of Allah. Al-Hayy meaning the living. So that is one of His names, and we affirm the attribute from that name, which is that He has life. He is not dead and motionless and not carrying out any activities. Rather, He is alive and doing things proactively. And we affirm His life without making tamthil, without saying that His life is similar to our life, without making tahrif by saying that life does not mean life, it means something else. some secondary meaning which we do not have any need to affirm, and neither do we make tafweed by saying, well, we do not know what al-hayy means, the meaning is for Allah alone to know. No, rather we do know what al-hayy means. It means living. We know what that means. And every single thing has a living or a life which is fitting to that essence. And finally, we do not make takyif, which is to try to attempt to describe how the attributes manifest. We have no idea how these attributes manifest. We do not need to make takyif. So we must avoid these 4 points with regards to all attributes of Allah Jalla wa Ala. As for his name, Al-Qayyum, Qayyim means a caretaker, one who looks after something. Qayyum is the one who gives other things life and existence, as well as existing his own self without depending on anyone else. So we take from this name that everything depends on Allah, and that Allah does not depend on anyone else because He is the one who is sustaining everything else. So every single thing in the universe is a dependent being, or if you like, a contingent being, whereas Allah Jalla wa Ala is an independent being. So for example, in Surah Rum, He tells us, وَمِنْ آيَاتِهِ أَن تَقُومَ السَّمَاءُ وَالْأَرْضُ بِأَمْرِهِ. From His signs is that the heavens and the earth exist by His command. Also, these two names coupled together, Al-Hayy and Al-Qayyum, have been said to be Allah's greatest names, where if you use them in a dua, Allah Jalla wa Ala answers such a dua. Then He says, لَا تَأْخُذُهُ سِنَةٌ وَلَا نَوْمٌ. أَخَذَ يَأْخُذُ, to take something, it could mean to seize something. So it means that sinna does not seize Him. The word sinna originally is wasnatun. Waw, sin, noon, ta marbuta. Wasnatun, which means slumber. The waw is mahdhufa. It has been removed, as so often happens with many words in the Quran. Wala naum, naum means sleep. So slumber, no sleep, seizes him or overtakes him, like it does to us. And we say the reason why Allah is not overcome by sleep or slumber is because Allah's living is perfect. So we always affirm the perfect opposite to a negative characteristic. And in this there is also a rebuttal against anyone who says that Allah created the heavens and the earth in 6 days and rested on the 7th day. There is a narration in the collection of Ibn Abi Hatim where Banu Israel asked Musa alayhi salam, does your Rabb sleep? And he told them to fear Allah. And so Allah Jalla wa Ala told Musa alayhi salam that your people have asked you, does your Rabb sleep? Take 2 glass bottles and stand up with them a whole night long. And so Musa alayhi salam did so, but inevitably slumber overtook him and he fell asleep, thus shattering the glass bottles. When Musa alayhi salam woke up, Allah Jalla wa Ala told him, just like this, if I were to go to sleep, the heavens and the earth would fall and shatter. If this narration is authentic, then that's all well and good. Otherwise, it is completely rational to reject the idea that the one sustaining the heavens and the earth can ever go to sleep or take a day off. Then who will sustain the heavens and the earth in His absence? The 4th statement, لَهُ مَا فِي السَّمَاوَاتِ وَمَا فِي الْأَرْضِ. To Him belongs all that which is in the heavens and the earth. So this ayah then tells us of the complete and perfect authority and dominion of Allah Jalla wa Ala. He is the owner of all that exists. Statement number 5, مَنْ ذَا الَّذِي يَشْفَعُ عِنْدَهُ إِلَّا بِإِذْنِهِ. It could grammatically make sense to say مَنِ الَّذِي يَشْفَعُ, but the dha is an extra word to catch your attention. Who is the one who can yashfa, intercede with Him except by His permission? So it means that it is possible to intercede in front of Allah, that is to say, to intercede for another person in front of Allah. That is possible to do, but it can only be done by Allah's permission. Now this section is a question format, but what is intended is a rejection, meaning no one can intercede with Allah except by His permission. But a question form is more eloquent speech. Statement 6. يَعْلَمُ مَا بَيْنَ أَيْدِيهِمْ وَمَا خَلْفَهُم. يَعْلَم, from alima, to know, he knows. مَا بَيْنَ أَيْدِيهِمْ, literally what is between their hands. What is referred to here is this world. He knows everything in this world. وَمَا خَلْفَهُم, and what is khalf, which means behind them. This refers to the akhirah, because the future follows the present. So it's behind the present, if that makes sense. Because the future comes after the present. So in that sense, it is behind you. So he knows what is behind them, as in the akhirah. So this indicates to us the perfect knowledge of Allah Jalla wa Ala. Statement 7. وَلَا يُحِيطُونَ بِشَيْءٍ مِنْ عِلْمِهِ إِلَّا بِمَا شَاءَ. يُحِيطُونَ, from ahata, yuhitu, to surround. They, meaning the people, do not surround بِشَيْءٍ, anything, from His knowledge, meaning from Allah's knowledge, except what He wills. Now this could be understood in two ways. The people do not have any knowledge of Allah Himself except that which He wills, meaning that which He reveals to the people. The second way to understand it is that they do not have any knowledge of Allah's knowledge except that which Allah reveals. And both tafasir are acceptable. Number 8. وَسِعَ كُرْسِيُّهُ السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضِ. His kursi extends all over the heavens and the earth. Wasi'a means to be wide and expansive. As for the key term kursi, this means a footstool, a place where you put your foot on. Now normally the word kursi in standard Arabic means a seat. Originally the root letters karasa means to compose something. And a kursi, meaning a seat, is composed of a leg and the back support and so on. It's composed this way. Abdullah ibn Abbas radiallahu anh said that the kursi is the place where Allah places His feet. And there are different opinions about the kursi, but we say that the kursi is different to the arsh. And there are some narrations, many of which are da'if, but there are narrations which talk about how great the kursi is in comparison to the heavens and the earth, and that the arsh is yet greater. There are other statements given, like the kursi means His knowledge, and others have said the kursi actually refers to His dominion. But the most authentic that we have is that the kursi is the place of the foot of Allah Jalla wa Ala, and this is the statement of Ibn Abbas. And it is not feasible that Ibn Abbas is speaking from his own opinion about a matter like this, which is a matter of the unseen. He had to have taken it from the Prophet. So it would be given the ruling as being marfu' hukman, in essence linked to the Prophet. Statement number 9. وَلَا يَؤُودُهُ حِفْظُهُمَا. The verb is aada ya'udu, which means to weigh down or burden someone. Hifth meaning preservation. So the preservation of them, meaning the heavens and the earth, does not weigh down on Allah Jalla wa Ala. It is not difficult for Him to preserve the heavens and the earth, which tells us of His immense ability and power. And finally, statement number 10, وَهُوَ الْعَلِيُّ الْعَظِيمُ. So Ali means high. He is high in His essence. He is above everything. And He is high in His sifat. He has the best characteristics, the highest standards possible. And Al-Azim from Azuma means to be great and lofty. Okay, so reflecting on this ayah, what might we pick up? Well, we pick up the two names of Allah, Al-Hayy and Al-Qayyum. We said that there is a narration where the Prophet said these are the greatest names of Allah, which if He is asked by, He gives, and if He is called by, He answers. These names also appear in Surah Al-Imran as well. We take that there is no true deity except Allah, we pick up that because Allah is Al-Qayyum, He is free of any needs and requires no one for His existence, rather the other way around. There can be no existence except that Allah gives it existence and sustains it. We take because Allah does not sleep and is not overtaken by slumber, then that means He has perfect ability and perfect living. We also take that His ownership and His dominion is the most perfect that it can possibly be, because He owns all that which is in the heavens and the earth, right down to the smallest particle, the atom or the quark, or whatever is smaller. And when we realize this, then we have to realize that anything that we have, all of our achievements, all of our possessions, it all comes ultimately from Allah, not from our own selves. And so this is a humbling fact to realize. Otherwise, man would think that he is a self-made man. He did not need any help from the divine. And that is just simply arrogance. We also notice the word samawat, which tells us that the layers of heaven or the sky are a plural number of layers. We know from other evidence that there are 6 layers of the sky or the heavens. We also take the complete authority of Allah, that no one can intercede with Allah except that Allah should permit it. So we take that Allah can also give permission to certain types of people. In this world, you can intercede in front of a king or a ruler, and you do not even need their permission. You can go up to them and intercede. But this would not be possible on Yawm al-Qiyamah. Permission would have to be granted first. But we also take from this that intercession is not impossible. Rather, it will happen, only that it will happen by the permission of Allah. That is all. We are not going to take that it will never happen. No, that would be the wrong interpretation. We also take from this ayah that our knowledge is limited to what Allah permits us to know. So any knowledge you have gained of the Sharia or any other beneficial knowledge, you have to thank Allah Jalla wa Ala for it and give Allah the credit alone. As He says, عَلَّمَ الْإِنسَانَ مَا لَمْ يَعْلَمْ. He taught man what he did not know. We find that Allah has perfect strength and ability and power, because preserving the heavens and the earth does not weigh down on Him. And anytime you find negative characteristics being negated, then we affirm the perfect opposite. Because affirming is a praise, negating is not a praise. And the whole point about the names and attributes of Allah Jalla wa Ala is to praise Him thereby. And finally, we take the 2 names of Allah Jalla wa Ala, Al-Ali and Al-Azim, along with their characteristics as well, which we affirm. And we may take that Allah has the direction of highness. He is not everywhere, as some people erroneously believe. Rather, He is high. Wherever you are, He is above you. You're going to look upwards to make dua to Allah Jalla wa Ala. Wherever you may be, on earth, on the moon, on another planet, in another galaxy, wherever. Allah is above you. Wallahu a'lam.